Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, but in particular, we're going to talk about Anthony Davis. His name has come up in some rumors over the past few days, and now felt like a perfect time to talk about how weird his situation is in LA, what has led up to this point, and why he in particular might be the biggest problem for the Lakers right now. Go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Comment down below your thoughts on this situation. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these uploads. And let's go ahead and let's get into it. When the Lakers traded for AD a couple of years ago, the vision was obvious. Put him and LeBron James next to each other as one of the best duos in the league for years to come and win championships. It was that simple. They had them surrounded by shooters and good role players. They won a title in 2020 and then everything fell off a cliff. If you want to see my video about how they destroyed their roster, go ahead and check it out in the link in the description. I'll leave the video there, but let's just say things have not gone well for them since that moment. And there's been a lot of reasons for why, but all of it has led up to them now being 2-8 on the season after last night's blowout loss to the Utah Jazz, another one that continues to rack up. And right now they're one of only 3 teams in the league with less than 3 wins. It's them, it's the Rockets, and the Orlando Magic, and those last 2 teams are actively tanking, while the Lakers have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and traded for Russell Westbrook last offseason. They are actively trying to win basketball games. So the fact that they're in that same tier is horrific, and it speaks to just how badly they've botched this whole situation. There are a lot of reasons for why the Lakers suck, and let's go ahead and get into some of those real quick. It's been well documented that they're one of the worst shooting teams in NBA history. They're the 30th ranked offense. They're not even a very good defense anymore, falling from top 5 at the beginning of the season to now just the 12th best unit in the league. LeBron James doesn't really look like his typical self. It seems like father time really actually might be starting to catch up to him, which didn't seem possible. I'm not saying he's not still a really good player, because he is, but it's very clear that he's no longer capable of truly carrying a team. Then you've got Russell Westbrook, who started the season really rough and it looked like he was going to get traded, but now he's playing really well off the bench, so do you still trade him? They've only got 2 first-round picks to improve this roster. Management is saying that they may even be reluctant to trade those picks if the season keeps going the way it is. They don't even have their own first-round pick this year. They owe that to the New Orleans Pelicans, so there's a chance that the Pels might get Victor Wembanyama. It's just all a disaster for them. But one guy in particular I feel like has kind of been avoided being talked about, and that is Anthony Davis. Now don't get me wrong, Anthony Davis has been solid so far on the year. Statistically, he's putting up 23.2 points per game, 10.3 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 1.6 steals, and 2 blocks on 53.8% shooting. He's also been the anchor to their defense, by far the biggest reason why they've been a positive on that end. But like I said, they have started to kind of fall off defensively. Earlier in the year when they were top 5, he was probably in Defensive Player of the Year conversations. And if they somehow turn the season around, he could be right back there. So all in all, it's been a pretty solid season for Anthony Davis. But you got to keep in mind, this is Anthony Davis. Going back to the trade that the Lakers made with the Pelicans to bring AD to the squad, they gave up a ridiculous amount of assets. They gave up Lonzo Ball, who is a high-level role player, Josh Hart, who's also a high-level role player, Brandon Ingram, who is an all-star and maybe even all-NBA caliber player soon, DeAndre Hunter, who's a young rising star, Dyson Daniels, who's looked really good so far for the Pelicans, those last 2 guys in draft picks that they gave to New Orleans, and now 2 more first-round picks, one of which is this year, to bring in Anthony Davis. That is a ridiculous haul for him. I'm not saying they lost the trade because they won a championship. In my opinion, if you make a trade and win a championship, regardless of if you gave up like 50 first-round picks, if you win a title, you are a winner of the trade, because ultimately the goal in the sport is to win championships. So the Lakers, in my opinion, are already a winner of the trade. The Pelicans, very clearly, with what they've got going on over there, also one of the winners of the trade. So nobody's a real loser here. However, in this current moment, Anthony Davis is not playing up to the caliber of player that you would trade all of those assets for. One of the biggest reasons why the trade was immediately worth it was because you got a guy in AD who seemed on a very clear top 5 player trajectory. He was putting up monster stats in New Orleans, and even in his first year in LA, when he didn't put up quite the same numbers as New Orleans, because now, of course, he's playing with LeBron James, he was dominant, and especially in the playoffs, he established himself as one of the best players in the world. I said this in the the Lakers video that I talked about earlier, but heading into the 2021 season, Anthony Davis was listed by ESPN as the second best player in the league alongside LeBron at number 1. That's how highly people looked at him after that playoff run, and for good reason. He was incredible, not just playing great as he typically does, dominating inside, playing great defense, but knocking down jumpers, threes, mid-range jumpers, creating his own shot. It felt like he was somehow taking another step from who he was on the Pelicans. But most importantly, it looked like Anthony Davis was ready to take the reins of the franchise and possibly even the league itself. LeBron was always going to be the best player for that first season, but after that, the game plan was that Anthony Davis would take over, he would become the leading scorer, their first option, the best player on the team, while LeBron James, especially in the regular season, kind of faded and became more of a playmaker and a secondary option. He was still going to be incredible, but they were going to give the reins to Anthony Davis to truly take over. And then you get to the playoffs and LeBron probably stops coasting and really turns it up another gear. That was the game plan. That was how it seemed like it was going to go. But since that playoff series, the final series even, Anthony Davis has not been the same player. He's of course still a really solid defender. We just talked about how he's anchoring the Lakers defense, but offensively, so much of his game is no longer there. He's not really able to create his own shot as efficiently anymore. He's not as quick. He's not able to create as much space, and that's led to him being one of the worst jump shooters in NBA history. And if you don't believe me, I've got a stat here from Kirk Goldsberry. He put this one out a couple weeks ago, so the numbers may have changed slightly, but the sentiment is still there. In this tweet, he says that among 178 players that have attempted at least 500 jumpers since the beginning of the 2020-2021 NBA season following the Lakers title, Anthony Davis has logged the lowest efficient field goal percentage on those shots at 35.99. No other player is below 40. That's incredibly bad. He's become a complete negative as a jump shooter. Anytime you get a jump shot from him, it is a huge win for your defense. You compare that to other bigs in the league, guys like Joel Embiid, who is dominant in the mid-range, Nikola Jokic, who can create his shot from anywhere, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who has gotten a better midi. Anthony Davis is one of the players that has not adapted that to his game, and it's really, really hurting him. And not just him, but it's hurting the team as a whole. The Lakers, part of the reason why they don't have good spacing is because AD can't shoot anymore. If he was playing the 5 and being a decent shooter from deep, which he's shooting like 25-26% from there, but also even just from the mid-range, that would go a long way to them being able to open up more opportunities for like Russ and LeBron to drive into the paint. But because teams just don't respect AD shooting threes or mid-range jumpers that much, they don't have a lot of spacing, which completely negates the reason why you'd want to put him at the 5. And with all this being said, Anthony Davis has now went from a player that was supposed to take the reins of the franchise from LeBron James to being just a fine player. At this point, I don't even know if I'd put him in my top 20 players in the league, and that's a massive fall off. He was supposed to be the guy. He has not lived up to that hype. This also leads to a 37, about to turn 38-year-old LeBron James still being the best player on the roster and having to carry them. Even if they somehow turned around this season, by the time you reach the playoffs, LeBron's going to be gassed. There is no room for him to coast and kind of just hang around to the playoffs like he's done in previous years, because if he doesn't put out his complete effort, the Lakers are going to get blown out almost any given night. If Davis just reached that superstar status like it seemed he was destined to do, they probably wouldn't be in nearly as bad of a situation right now. At least they'd be winning some more games, but because he never reached that level, they are one of the worst teams in the NBA, and it looks like they're screwed for the foreseeable future. This all leads to what inspired me to make this video, and that's the rumors circulating on Twitter. Bill Simmons said on his podcast that he's heard from sources that Anthony Davis's name has been floating around the trade market. Now, I don't know how credible that is. I don't know what sources Bill Simmons has in particular, but thinking about it is a very interesting thought experiment, because Anthony Davis being traded is something that seemed virtually impossible a few years ago. But now as the Lakers continue to be terrible and they're basically tanking at this point, it's becoming a bit more of a possibility in my mind. However, when I think about that, two big questions come up. Number one, is anyone going to trade for him? And number two, what is his actual trade value? The trade value question is in particular interesting to me because I think the idea of Anthony Davis at this point is better than the player. When you look at AD, the thought is he's this unicorn. He can handle the ball like a guard. He can shoot. He can defend. He can do basically everything for your team. But if he's not staying healthy on the court, which is another big concern of his, and he's not shooting the ball very well, he's kind of just this high-level defender that can finish around the rim, which is still very valuable. However, with the injury concerns on top of that, I don't know what teams are going to be willing to part with a major part of their core for a guy that's now going on 30, 31 years old and continues to look like he's regressing. I'm sure there are some teams out there that would put in some offers for AD if he is actually available. However, I also don't know what the Lakers truly get out of trading him. If you deal him, say, for like a young player, a role player, some picks, is probably a package I would look at. Does that really help you in your path to contention? You've still got LeBron James, but now he is very clearly the best player on your team every single night. And now, even if you bring like a young guy and some role players, you have him once again trying to carry your franchise. That does not fix the issue. Sure, it might be a better fit overall, and maybe you win a few more games. You're still not nearly a contender, and also your defense probably falls off a cliff by trading AD. You could also trade him for some guys that aren't expiring deals. All in all, just kind of give up on this season, and next year in the offseason, try and bring in some max or all around just kind of decent free agents to fill out the roster around LeBron and Russell Westbrook if you do decide to bring him back. He's also expiring, but once again, that leaves LeBron as your best player, and even if you do open enough space to bring in 2 max level guys, it's not a good market out there. You have James Harden, who I truly expect to stay in Philly. You've got Chris Middleton, who I also don't see leaving Milwaukee. You've got Fred VanVleet, who I don't think leaves the Raptors. Kyrie, there's the whole situation going on with him. Draymond Green is probably attainable, but I don't think you want him as one of your max contract slots if you're trying to build a team around LeBron James. You've got guys like Kristaps Porzingis, Miles Turner, D'Lo, Vucevic, Cam Johnson, Kyle Kuzma, Harrison Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, Christian Wood, and Seth Curry are just some of the names that I saw on the list of free agents. And all of those guys could be solid pieces, but once again, is there enough there to create a championship caliber team around LeBron James? I honestly don't think the answer is yes. So while I do think trading him is a viable avenue, I don't think there are any teams out there that are going to give you what you're looking for to truly become a contender. And even if you just create cap space, the players aren't out there either to make you be a competitive team next season. I just think the Lakers are kind of screwed either way they go. To be honest, the best option right now might just be to hold on to Anthony Davis and hope that he somehow turns things around. I'm not feeling very optimistic about it because we've just seen him continue to regress, but right now, Anthony Davis is one of the biggest problems they're going to have to face in the next few years. All in all, I'm not saying that Anthony Davis is the reason that the Lakers suck. There are a million reasons why they're a bad team right now, but if he was better, they would probably be a better team. So he does deserve some of that responsibility. In terms of trading him, I don't really think there are many avenues to truly turn this team around, even if you deal him. I think AD could be better if you put some more shooters around him, gave him some more space to work with, because right now that is horrific. But even then, I'm not super optimistic about him returning to the player he once was, or this Lakers team finding a way back to the championship as currently constructed. With that being said, I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these uploads. Also, comment down below your thoughts on Anthony Davis, and if you were the Lakers, would you trade him? Would you keep him? What would your game plan be to fix this team? I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.